All right, welcome back, mi gentes. I'm DNaz. You are on the DNaz channel. And as always, we're going to have some fun conversation. We're going to have some conversation that is enlightening, uplifting, right? We're going to give you some knowledge because it's all about awakening. It's all about gaining knowledge so that you can progress in life. You can wake up from the slumber of being brainwashed, and that's the topic today is brainwashing, right? Because we have a society today where there is a lot of brainwashing going on, all different types of ways, and we're going to talk about those. One of them is propaganda and news. To me, that's the most dangerous, one of the most dangerous, but the most dangerous in today's world specifically, and in America specifically, because America is very divided. And it is divided because of propaganda and the news outlets giving you information that is not accurate. And it's really not a lot of the people's fault. It is and it isn't. It is the people's fault in a way where they don't do enough research. They're not doing enough research. The average person is just watching their social media, whatever platform they're on, and they're believing the first thing they see, right? Or they're not fact checking people or not making sure that the video that they're watching is accurate, right? So, for example, if a politician, you don't like a politician, right? And the platform that you're on is showing you clips of the politician talking, right? And you could clearly notice the clip being edited. If you don't go and double check that and go watch the real interview or the real source where that video came from without the video being edited, jumping from one part of the conversation to another, if you don't look out for that, then that's on you. And you're getting false information. You are getting videos that are edited, put together, meshed together to make it seem like somebody is saying something that they're not, or make it seem way worse than what they actually said. This is happening a lot, right? And it's also the fault of the people putting out these stories and doing this deceiving, right? Because these people, they feed off lying to you. Your beliefs and your rage and your anger fuels them to keep putting out stories and keep making up lies because they know it stirs you crazy. They know they get a reaction out of you. They know when they put out something that's controversial, they're getting a reaction out of you. And that's what they want because they just want you to click. They want clickbait. They just want you to go to whatever platform they're on and watch it. And they want to make money off it. They want to make money off you watching and being hooked on whatever they're trying to sell you. Okay? If you look here, the DNaz channel, I'm not saying that I wouldn't like to do this for a living. I'm not saying that I wouldn't like to make money off talking to you guys and making this channel, right? But I'm doing this. I don't have a lot of viewers at all, very few. I only have a few subscribers. And I'm sitting here trying to tell you the truth. I am not trying to sell you anything, right? I'm not trying to, even if I was, I am not trying to sell you something at the expense of your knowledge. I am not trying to give you any false information. If you watch any of my videos, you hear me say, go fact check me. Don't just believe everything that comes out of my mouth. Go double check because I could be wrong. And I'd love to know if I was wrong. I would love someone to tell me if I'm wrong. I give you things based on what I know, right, and what I analyze. But I encourage you to do your own research. I encourage you to have your own opinions, thoughts, and get real information. The news platforms don't encourage that. They just want you to watch what they're putting out. They will put out anything to grab your attention. And they mostly use violence and negative things. They usually fuel hatred, right? They fuel hatred because they want reactions and they want views and they have something to sell you. Another form of this brainwashing and lying deceit is religion. Something I was raised Catholic, something I proudly got out of and can see the truth. Something I am very happy and fortunate to have unwashed my brain, right? Because if you notice, these people, they're trying to sell you something, a preacher. If you want to know what Jesus really said, he said, beware of those in long flowing robes who preach. Jesus did not want preachers. He did not want someone else trying to give you the word of God, right? He did not want that because he knows that they are trying to sell you something, right? If you go look at your preachers at the churches, right? You go up there, they got chains on, they got money, the church has a bunch of money, right? And you're donating, and yeah, they might do some good things, but they're not giving all the money. All the money that you're giving, a lot of it's going to them. They're doing it because they're getting something from you. They're selling you something. If they weren't trying to sell you something, they would read you the actual Bible, the real Bible, right? Not claiming that the Bible was in Hebrew, because we know it was in Greek, the Septuagint. All right. And then they don't ever tell you, you go to church, they don't ever tell you what the Bible really says, because there's a lot of horrendous things in there. There's a lot of questionable things in there. And then on top of it, all these ancient books were written in Greek. None of these pastors, preachers, none of them read ancient Greek. None of them. So how can they tell you something? How can they sell you something when they themselves can't even read the sources? They don't even have accurate information, right? They get up there and they take little sections from different areas of the Bible and they turn it and manipulate it into some story telling you what God said, telling you what it means, right? Because about 90, at least 90, if not 99% of Christians and Catholics have not read the Bible. I will say that again. 90 to 99% of Christians and Catholics have not read the Bible. And if they had, they most likely read the King James Version or a version that is a translation from another person or an altered edition, not the original, not the original Bible written in Greek, not the Septuagint, not the Codex, right? But they give you some translation, some version that has a bunch of stuff edited and taken out of it. Nobody's up there showing you what it really says, showing you the bad things. There's good, but there's not all good in there. So how come they only show you that side, right? They have something to sell you. Do you notice most of these people, oh, buy my book, buy this, do this, give money, put money in the basket, right? When someone has something to sell you, they are not looking out for your best interests and they do not care whether you know the truth or not. They have something to sell you, and that is something to beware of. Because true knowledge, you should not pay for. True knowledge should be free, and you all deserve it. We need to break the mold. We need to break these brainwashing things. We have to, right? You have to get off being divided and the brainwashing that's happening in politics. splitting up, thinking that there's a left and a right when they're both wings of the same bird. You understand? Democracy was there for a reason, for everybody to have a voice and opinion, right? Not for there to be a far left or a far right and things get way out of control, right? And for politics to be some game show. You watch the news and the politics, it's like a game show, right? There's a whole bunch of garbage on there and people constantly lying, and we know about it. We keep uncovering these lies. We keep uncovering corrupt politicians, all these old people that have been in office for God knows how long, and we just keep them. The Senate, the House, the Congress, they don't change over enough, right? These people stay in the House forever. There's a reason why the president is only supposed to serve 4 years and only 2 terms, because you need different people. You need to change people. You can't have the same people in power, because then greed takes place. When democracy was created, when government was created and democracy in ancient Greece, okay, anybody serving or in the house, there were rules. You could not make money and you can only serve 1 year term. 1 year term. And that's for a reason, to avoid corruption. The government and democracy started getting corrupted in the Rome days. If you look at the history of Rome and all the emperors, you'll notice in the beginning it was very um, positive for the people. Democracy was there, the government was there. You'll notice towards the end, as you get to all these crazy emperors, right? You'll notice towards the end there was nothing but corruption. People were getting stabbed. Caesar, all these people were getting murdered, right? Greed. Greed took over. Greed is evil. Money is the root to evil. If you want to follow evil, you just follow the money. So all these people that have the money, they're the ones lying to you. Another area of brainwashing is our schools, sadly enough, because education is very important. And in the last 50 years, we haven't advanced in our physics and our science. That's very alarming, because if you go back to the 1800s and 1900s, we were soaring. Science was constantly coming out with new ideas and constantly discovering new things. Then all of a sudden, the last 50 to 70 years, we're at a halt. Why? Electric companies took over after they took out Tesla, after they wanted to control because of greed, right? So now the average person doesn't know how electricity works. They don't know that it comes right from the air, from everywhere. They don't know how free and easy it is. They don't know that the power is already there, and taking electricity and putting it into a storage, storing it, is what makes it decay, right? But you can just constantly get power because we have the magnetic and dielectric field of the earth. That's where it comes from. So control and greed brings you lies. And now we have a school system that teaches you things that if you challenge it, you are shunned, right? If you're a scientist and you come up with new methods or your own understanding of how the world works, you're not welcome in the science community, right? What is that about? Why is their system the only system, right? Before there was atomism, everybody believed in the ether. They were talking about the magnetic and dielectric field of the world. They were carving the flower of life in stone on the side of temples. They knew the stars and the pattern of the stars, thousands of years ago, they predicted the circumference of the earth without telescopes, without any of the technology we have today. But then all of a sudden, in the last 100 years, these scientists come up with their own conclusions and they say that for all the people for thousands of years were wrong. No, are you kidding me? They're the reason why we have those mathematics, going back to Pythagoras, Aristotle, right? going back to the greats, Ibn Sina, right? You're taught in school that the Dark Ages, there was no creativity going on. That was just where the Europeans were. But they never teach you about the Middle East, how there's someone called Ibn Sina and all these Al Haytham, right? All these people, philosophers that were coming out with incredible math. People that when the Library of Alexandria was burned, they created another academy, a great library. Preserve those works in the Middle East, right? Preserve those works in the middle of Turkey and all these places. They kept that knowledge for us, but they tell you that these were the Dark Ages. They tell you that there was no great things going on, no creativity going on for that 1,000-year span. That is a huge lie, right? Because we have biases in this country, right? Just like they tell you the Native Americans were savages, right? And that they were only hunter and gatherers and they only lived in stick huts. They had cities. There were millions of people on this continent. So a lot of our history, a lot of what is taught to us is very, very masked. Okay. Shit thrown on top of shit. Hot new shit on top of the cold, right? And they just keep covering up these things until you have no idea what your reality is, right? You have no idea what's real or fake. Today is one of the weirdest times to live today, to live in the world today is like living in a movie because we have no idea what's real and what's fake. That's why you have to do research. You have to be aware of people brainwashing you in all areas, religion, education, and your news, and your outlook on the world. Stop letting people tell you that the world is bad when the world is good. It's beautiful. Stop letting them tell you that we've discovered everything under the sun when we haven't discovered 10% of the ocean. We know nothing. We know more about the planet Mars than we do our own ocean and the moon. We have more mapped out of the moon than we do our own ocean. There's so much left here. We have to wake up and we have to start fact checking people. The brainwashing's over. It's time for the Great Awakening. You will find it in little channels like this, like myself, and in other places. And I don't want to sell you anything. I don't care. I want you to come here for knowledge and to learn. And I want you to teach me because I don't know everything. I want you to comment. I want you to like and subscribe. I want to hear your opinions. I want everybody to wake up and we're going to create a better world. This is the DNaz channel. We'll see you next time.